Let me introduce the director of the Lawrence Berkeley Laboratory, Dr. Charles Shank.
Good morning. And welcome to this historic day for the Lawrence Berkeley Laboratory. I'm pleased that so many of you could come to be with us here on this really perfect day, not even a cloud in the sky. The dedication of the advanced light source officially marks the end and the beginning. We have finished the advanced light source construction project on time and on budget, and we are now starting the operation of this amazing facility and beginning the scientific program, which will be the ultimate measure of our success. Today, we celebrate the truly extraordinary accomplishments of everyone in LBL who made this project succeed. We are very proud of all of you. Before I introduce our distinguished speakers, I would like to call to your attention today some of the individuals who are here with us who are critically important to the success of this project. Please hold your applause until I've mentioned all the names. First, of course, is J. Marx. Without his initial leadership, this project would not be the success it is today, and our laboratory takes special pleasure and pride in your unique talents. Other important members of the ALS team include Dave Atwood, who kept the ALS flame burning in the scientific community, Ron Yord, who displayed remarkable project management skills, Alan Jackson, who led an international accelerator team that designed an ALS that worked the first time, Klaus Hallbach, who gave his enormous creativity and spiritual leadership to the ALS, and finally Klaus Berkner, who drove the technical design and formed the organization that brought the light source to fruition to the state that it is today. There are many other members of the LBL team whose names I'd like to mention here today because they too have made the ALS possible. In the interest of time, however, I'm going to stop and let all of us now to give these folks a real big round of applause. We are also here today because of the partnership and strong support of the Department of Energy. In particular, DOE's Don Stevens and Lou Ionello provided critical leadership through the period when these national facilities were being considered. Don, it's really great to have you here today. Another important member of the DOE team then was Ed Temple, now with the Argonne National Laboratory. And Ed, you taught all of us how to count. Thank you all very much. In the Office of Management and Budget, the ALS had a key advocate in Dr. Judy Bostock, who's also with us today. And we believe the project couldn't have happened without you, Judy. Thank you again very much. We are also fortunate to have with us another individual who is widely respected for his insightful assessment of scientific opportunities, and that's Al Neurath, the president of the Sandia National Laboratories. In the tough early days of the ALS, Al's support was crucial, and he is part of why we're celebrating here today. Thank you for being here, Al. Now let me recognize some of the local officials for their participation today. With us is the Berkeley City Council members Fred Callaghan and Mary Wainwright. Welcome and thank you very much for joining us. LBL is working to become a more active member of our community, and symbolizing that effort is the attendance today of Rachel Rupert, Executive Director of the Berkeley Chamber of Commerce, and Seth Butner, Vice Chair of the Oakland Chamber of Commerce. Thank you all for coming. I'm also pleased to note that we have a high-level representation from the University of California. From the Berkeley campus, we have Provost and Research Professor Joseph Cerny. And from the Irvine campus, we have the Chairman of the UC Academic Council, Professor Arnold Binder. We are honored to have you with us here today. And now to the program. For our first speaker, it seems only right that we go to the person who conceived of the ALS in the first place. Well, the ALS is only one of my predecessor's many contributions to LBL. His vision for this project may be his most important gift to LBL. With the ALS, Dave Shirley has given LBL a bright future. There's no way to thank you enough, Dave, for this or for everything else that you've created here. Ladies and gentlemen, the Senior Vice President for Research and Dean of the Graduate School at Penn State and the former Director of LBL, Dave Shirley.
Thank you very much, Chuck. Well, I never thought I'd live to see this day. Actually, I did think, even from the beginning, that one day there was going to be an advanced light source and that it was probably going to be here because the technology was right in 1982 when the idea first came that it's time to put it together. A lot of people had made contributions over the years. I had participated in synchrotron radiation activities by that time for about 9 years myself, from the early days in which I first became interested in the project at Stanford, the Stanford Synchrotron Radiation Project, which has some representatives here today. When later the project was funded and evolved into the Stanford Synchrotron Radiation Laboratory, I see Andy Sessler in the crowd. Andy and I enjoyed serving on the Science Policy Council of the SSRP in the early days, and we spent happy times driving back and forth to SLAC and discussing how light sources would evolve. I learned a lot from Andy's insightful understanding of colliding beam facilities and storage rings in general. Later, when I first saw in 1980, during my first year as director, the first undulator built by LBL going out the door, fulfilling Klaus Halbach's conception of a permanent magnet insertion device, I realized that something was in the making. At that time, we were building several rings in the United States of the previous generation. We now call them second generation rings. Later, we joined a consortium with SSRL and Exxon to build a 54-pole wiggler, a more modern version of the insertion device, somewhat similar to the one that you saw today, which of course is a third generation insertion device. And in the spring of 1982, a number of things came together. It seemed to be time technically, and it certainly was time in the history of the laboratory to get started with a new project, and this seemed to be the right one. Our Accelerator and Fusion Research Division, under the leadership of Hermann Grunder, was immediately responsive. It took them, I don't know, Hermann, 3, 4, 5 weeks to scope out the essential designs of a third generation light source, which was based on low emittance in the straight sections and optimized for wigglers and undulators, insertion devices, and would clearly give us a glimpse and real access to several new decades of the electromagnetic spectrum. The scientific case seemed so compelling that we couldn't resist going ahead with it. We were, as the phrase goes, at that time, running a little out in front of our headlights. It took a while for the rest of the world to catch up, but the whole concept gelled. It has been moving forward fast ever since. There are a number of third-generation sources under construction in the world today. There were a number of benefits from this early work. We got an incredibly quick political education. We learned about the 160 steps in the federal budget process, many of them from Martha Krebs, who joined us at that time. She and Hermann and I spent a lot of time thinking about how we were ever going to get this thing funded and built. Meanwhile, the Accelerator Division was doing a terrific job of refining and the design and refining the plans and waiting and discussing. And I think that period of 2 or 3 years when further design work was going on, the refinements were being made, was actually very beneficial for the final product, because you've seen or you've heard already how well it works. I thought from the beginning that it would work better even than the design specifications. And indeed, I think we're going to find very quickly that that is the case. One of the benefits that came from the reviews and discussions nationwide with respect to this initiative was that the national laboratories worked together for a facilities initiative which was introduced in early 1986 and for the fiscal 87 budget, and it involved a facility at each of 4 national laboratories: the advanced light source here, the advanced photon source at Argonne, the advanced neutron source at Oak Ridge, and the relativistic heavy ion collider at Brookhaven National Laboratory. The site was picked early for the advanced light source, and by the time that we dedicated the construction project in July of 1988 on this site, when, by the way, we had quite a bit more space then, so you wouldn't have had to be standing quite so far from the podium because we didn't have this building. We had a building over here that had a square corner. If you look carefully, we had to take off at 45 degrees, an angle from this central storeroom building in order to make space for the light source on this somewhat constrained site. But by the time we dedicated it, we were able to make the analogies of something that had happened at LBL 50 years earlier, when LBL played a leadership role in the evolution of big science, and that was when Ernest Lawrence and his band came up from campus and established the first off-campus site for the Lawrence Berkeley Laboratory. Naturally, they picked the best location. It's the closest to bedrock that we get in these hills. And they also built an historic dome. I don't think we could have taken down this dome if we had wanted to, because it is a historical landmark. If you come in through the Golden Gate Bridge and you look very carefully, you'll see 2 landmarks stand out in Berkeley. One's the Campanile for the Berkeley campus, and the other is this dome immediately above it, representing the Lawrence Berkeley Laboratory. So it's very fitting that when we took this new departure at the laboratory, that we would build the light source incorporating the old dome. Well, that's the early history. We've had a very capable group of people who have developed and designed and built this machine. It has been done with utmost precision and care, and in a way that shows what a national laboratory is capable of, combining the efforts and capabilities of people from many different fields. And I'm sure that it's going to be a great success. It already is a great success. We see a number of spectacular beam lines coming online. There is room for more beam lines, and more should be developed. I think we're going to see the rule established here that is well known in high energy physics, that you've put about as much resources into the experimental facilities and beamlines as you do into the central accelerator. And I look forward to a build-out period here of 10, 15, maybe 20 years. I think that looking back at, say, from the 25th perspective of the 25th anniversary of the dedication of the light source, people are going to be able to see that there have been experiments done that we couldn't dream of today in a variety of fields that span all the way from material science to biology. I think we're going to see nanostructures, micromachining, and many other new fields opening up that we can only dream of today. So for me, this is the culmination and the realization of what was once referred to by Dave Atwood as the impossible dream. Thank you very much for your attention, and this is a great day in the history of synchrotron radiation, and I think of the laboratory.
Thank you very much, Dave, for your remarks. Our next speaker today is here today in a dual role. Since 1983, she's played a major role in shepherding the ALS through the budget process. She is now, I hear today, officially announced, the President's nominee for the Director of DOE's Office of Energy Research. Martha, before I invite you to the podium, I'd like to say just how proud I am of you and how confident I am of your continuing success. Not since LBL sent Glenn Seaborg to Washington have we had someone of such importance be in the Department of Energy. Martha.
This is a real thrill. I'm not sure I'm going to get through this without a lot of emotion here. I didn't expect to be the second on the program. I thought I had a little more time because in listening to Dave's comments, it really reminded me how much my time here at LBL has been involved with the light source and making it happen. I first talked to Dave in the middle of 1982 about coming to LBL. And in a way, I proposed to him. I mean, I had come out here a number of times. My scope at the committee had begun to include the basic research programs for the department. And I came out here to take a look at what was part of that. And I realized the quality, the excitement of the work that had been done, of the people who were here then, some of whom are still here now. But of course, this facility has brought so many more people into the family. And I realized also that it was time to leave Washington. I wasn't going to change my job very much, and I wanted something new to do and to challenge me and to come back closer to science. And so I talked with Dave, and we were talking. And somewhere about November, end of November or the beginning of December of 1982, Dave came in to see me and told me that it really looked like this advanced light source, which I had never heard anything about before, might be in the 1984 budget proposal that the Office of the Science Advisor at that time, Jay Keyworth, was interested in putting a materials science initiative together, and it was going to be centered on the advanced light source here at Berkeley. And I said to him, well, gee, that's really great, but you know, I'm going to have a conflict of interest when it comes up to the committee for consideration in this coming because I wasn't ready to come out yet. And I did indeed go to my chairman and tell him that I couldn't make any decisions on this. And it's kind of ironic because, of course, now I'm leaving LBL and I still have a conflict of interest in going back to the department. But coming to LBL, working on this facility, was a real exposure to me of the quality of the people, the ability of the institution internally to pull together teams and to make something happen that individual groups within the laboratory, individual people within the laboratory couldn't carry out by themselves. And I think that's the major thing that I carry away from the experience here at the lab. I mean, we characterize ourselves as, you know, the home of big science, and what big science means is teamwork. But until you really experience it, you don't, you know, it's just words. And I think one of the challenges that I have in going back to Washington is to try and convey what institutions like LBL and the other national laboratories really can bring to the performance of science, that we have something very special. I think that in some senses we express this in the vision. Chuck Shank and the managers of this laboratory put together a vision of LBL, I think now about 1.5 years ago. And partnerships were an intrinsic element of that. Recently, the Department of Energy has been undergoing a strategic planning exercise, and although I don't want to say that we've come up with that much that's new, but certainly we reiterate within the values of the department the fact that we value teamwork. And I think that's a really critical sort of reaffirmation of the value and the involvement and the partnerships that the Department of Energy has with LBL and with the National Laboratory System. The other thing that happened for me in this, in these last 10 years, and especially associated with the Advanced Light Source, was to recognize, in fact, how much how many people have participated in making this happen. I came to know and respect almost everybody. That's actually not fair, everybody. I shouldn't say it that way, I'm sorry. But what I was really thinking was I came to know and love a lot of people. And I respected everybody. I can't say that I love everybody. And I think what we also have to recognize is, you know, obviously inside LBL, people pulled together. I mean, Jay came over from the physics division to the accelerator and fusion division to run this project. People from the engineering division pulled together to support this facility. We needed people from the materials and chemical sciences division. And those partnerships need to continue for the future. The users, for the first time, at least in my knowledge, I think the laboratory made a real effort to reach out to external users, and those users became partners. And we need these people to continue because our future depends on you, or the future of this facility depends on you. I can say that actually not only from my perspective within LBL, but also for the job that I'm going to. If you guys don't do it, the build out that Dave wants in the next 25 years won't happen. I think we also need to acknowledge the partnership that we've had with the local DOE operations office. I think sometimes we haven't been as visible on their screens, but we got tremendous support from Sam, both locally here and in carrying the message back to the department, to headquarters. And of course, Dave made all the mention of the headquarters folks who, without whom we just wouldn't have made this happen. I'd like to that's the past for me. I think one of the things that's really notable about the people who are here today, and which represents an element of the future of LBL and the future of DOE that we really shouldn't pass over. Chuck introduced members of the Berkeley City Council, representatives from the local chambers of commerce, and of course, Mrs. Gail Wilson is here today representing the governor. And I think that, within the last 5 years, DOE has given strong messages to the local communities in which it has institutions that we want to reach out, that we want to be open and involved with you. I think that this is another expression of that wish to be involved. We want you to have the information that you need in order to make good decisions for the local community as you see those requirements. We also want you to own us. We want you to be proud of us and to share in moments like this and to know what we do here and to support us. And that goes, in the case of Mrs. Wilson, we want her to support, as I know she does, put things like the bee factory over at Berkeley and the combustion research facility down at Sandia in Livermore. And so, that's a special welcome that, I want to, particularly note from my point of view that it's really important that we have folks like you here. Anyway, let me finish up by basically saying that these partnerships we've started are critical to the future. Partnerships now with our university users, our industrial users, and with other labs. I'm really, really proud to be here today. I'm proud of everybody who's had a part in this project. I'm very proud to have been a part of it myself. And so I just want to say congratulations, and all the applause belongs to you. So.
Thank you very much, Martha. Our next speaker is a man who is the stuff of legends. He's had an illustrious career here at LBL and beyond. As a staff scientist, and then as an AFRD division director, and finally as LBL deputy director, Hermann Grunder had a major role in bringing the ALS to the reality it is today. And it's with great pleasure that we welcome a fellow laboratory director coming all the way from Newport News, Virginia, and the continuous electron beam accelerator facility, Hermann.
Mrs. Wilson, Director Shank, dear colleagues, you can't imagine what a pleasure this is, and you can't imagine how I'm shaking in my boots after this fantastic speech of Martha Krebs. Please note, Martha is the one person of management who stuck it out from the beginning to the very end. Now, I want to put your attention, I want to direct your attention to the role Berkeley has in California and Berkeley has in the nation. Berkeley is a place where large science which is done with large machines, science which is done driven by modern instrumentation. Berkeley is the place who invented it. And the tremendous satisfaction for me today is Berkeley is still the place where it happens. And that's a tribute to everybody here. And I'm so delighted that in my small way I could participate. And in a nice way, you all could make your career coincide with such a fantastic success as Advanced Light Source. I want to thank you on behalf of myself and on behalf of the science community. Every now and then at Berkeley, they forget that they are actually part of the United States. They actually forget that there is a government somewhere far east. And when somebody says Newport News, they quite justifiably laugh. Okay. The truth is, there is a United States. There is a Washington. But in this certain naivete lies an actual strength. Go on, do what you are doing well, and keep doing it for as long as the sun in California shines with the new laws. Isn't it? That's going to be a long time, Mr. Okay, look, I want to stop here pretty soon, but there are a few things you need to know. If you have it's a picture that this light source was just sort of rolling off a log, you're wrong. We had a few bumps. Some of them were made by nature or the government. Some of them were self-inflicted. I want to tell you a little bit of both. Before I do that, I want to remind you that how interesting it is in one's life. What is the motivator at any one point to do something? And there are few people who have not been mentioned and who are in the risk of not being mentioned, but who are absolutely key. I will tell you very quietly, there was an added factor in Martha Krebs coming out here. Her devoted husband, Phil Coyle. Right, Martha? Yeah. Good. There was an added factor in Dave Shirley working so diligently with such high performance. Virginia Shirley. The Shirley household can't function without Virginia. The car doesn't get washed, the dishes don't get washed, and Dave comes in his old shoes to work. Okay, it would be very wrong if I wouldn't mention my own dear wife, Lucienne, who can't be here because she walked into a squirrel hole and severed her Achilles tendon. I'm terribly sorry about it. She's in great shape. She regrets and she sends her love. Now let me tell you a few of the self-inflicted issues. And which way is the fire exit? We had a few problems with the community. There was sort of this ALS, it'd stick in the crow like a toothbrush in your throat of the community. And we set up this wonderful meeting in Albuquerque where my boss, my really great boss, Dave Shirley, was going to make peace. And as you all know, brilliance is the stuff which you want to measure on a light source. That's really where it's at. And we all had a good dinner, and we were about 350 people. It was in connection with the Mike Notek committee. And somebody asked, now, Director Shirley, would you be kind enough to tell us what brilliance actually is? He looked at the man a second, 2 seconds, and said, brilliance, you either have it or you don't. Now, you see, an explanation is in order. Director Shirley was actually right. In a light source, the brilliance is built in or it ain't. This was not one of our most successful days. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great day in California. Please be aware of it, that, as Brian Kincaid said, you carry the burden of a fantastic tradition. Berkeley is a place where you can do. Berkeley is a place where successes happen. And Berkeley is a place where young people can aspire to the sky is the limit. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those inspirational remarks, Hermann. I understand the importance of holding one's tongue. Our next speaker is a man who is now responsible for delivering on the promise of the ALS, on making its operation as successful as its construction. We appreciate the great job you're doing, Brian. Ladies and gentlemen, the director of the Advanced Light Source, Brian Kincaid.
Thanks, Chuck. That was very nice. I wanted to put together a few remarks here, sort of in real time, and I just wanted to say that overall, you've heard that projects like this are not done by one person. Your work is built up over really a decade or more on the shoulders of real giants. And that's the way I feel at this point, that I'm really standing on a very high spot looking out because of all the work that's been done before. Another feeling I have is that we have a very, very special team that's done the light source. The work that's been done just in the last couple of weeks has demonstrated that it's not just a special group of people, it's a world-class, unique group that we have here. And I'm starting to get the feeling that I have to be careful what I ask for because they're going to go and do it. It is absolutely amazing to me, the work that's been done here. We have pushed our progress so rapidly recently that the whole development of synchrotron radiation sources has been telescoped into a matter of months in our project. And I think people here have to realize that this is a unique institution. You can't go out and buy one of these things. You have to have a group of people like this to do it. And every one of the people in the ALS team and in LBL as a whole knows that the success of this operation is their responsibility. And I think that that kind of top-to-bottom feeling of responsibility and commitment is unique. When you go to see a successful company out in industry, that's a requirement that employees of that company have that feeling. They have to know what their product is, they have to know who the customers are, and what they have to deliver. And people here know that. People here know that they have to deliver the top quality scientific and technical work, best possible, that they deliver it on time, on schedule. They have to do it at the right price. They have to do it safely. And they have to make the customers happy. And that's what we're doing here. So again, I wanted to say that I'm proud to be part of an organization like this. There's nothing like this anyplace else. You know, we talked about big science. This looks like big science, doesn't it? It's pretty big. $150 million, that's a lot of money. We have a lot of responsibility here. There are even bigger facilities that are in the works. Our sister facility at Argonne is about 4 to 5 times the size of this. And it really looks like big science. Now, in fact, this is a unique situation here. We are the creators of big science. The Lorentz cyclotron was the beginning of high energy physics, the beginning of big science. But if you look around on the experimental floor, at the end of all the pipes connected to this big machine is small science. And I think that if you go down to our sister facility at Stanford, you'll see the same thing. Hundreds of grad students, teachers, high school teachers, professors, small research groups, all doing things completely different from each other, are working at the ends of these pipes. So what we're doing is we're taking accelerator physics and big science into the next generation, which is to use these tools for building very small and very precise new scientific programs on a very small scale. And if you think managing something like that is easy, you've got another thing coming. It's like, we have a saying here, it's like herding cats. Now, the other thing I wanted to say, and this is sort of to wrap it up, is that you know, the DOE is taking a lot of hits right now. It's kind of in an embarrassing situation right now. But the thing to remember is that this project was a team performance, and you see the team right here. You see the LBL people, you see the management of LBL, you see the local DOE people, you see the Washington headquarters DOE people. You basically see a community that has worked very systematically together to get this place built. And remember, I've only been the director of this place for a year. I can't claim credit for all this stuff. The person that really has done most of the work in leading this is Jay Marx, right over here. And I just, again, built on what was handed to me. And I want to say that what I learned from Jay is that you have to absolutely work with the team. There's no way that you can lead a project like this without having the team completely supporting you. And I do feel that support. I really do. And I wanted to make sure that people here realize that openness and working in a team environment is the only way that we're going to keep this place going. So, again, thank you to all the people that have gotten us to this point. And remember, this is just the beginning of the scientific program at this place. And we've gotten off to a very fast start. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So, again, thank you very much. And now it's time to have some fun with this machine.
Thank you. It was with some surprise but great pleasure for me to describe our next speaker. This is her second visit to LBL this year, and we're pleased and very honored to have her join us today. Our guest is a longtime advocate for science and science education. She is a graduate in biology from Stanford University, having been a Westinghouse Science Talent Search winner. She now represents the governor of the state of California and brings greetings on his behalf. It is my pleasure to welcome back Mrs. Gail Wilson.
And thank you very much. I am delighted to be back. I had a chance this summer to come with a group of high school students from around the country, Department of Energy program for high school students who excel in math and science, and have a wonderful visit here learning about wigglers and undulators, and I don't want to be tested any further than that. It's about as much as I know. But I did learn that this wonderful facility was completed on time and under budget, something that you can't often say when you're working with government. And I do know that this is the first of its kind in the world. Sitting here listening to the history of this facility and about all of you out there who have worked to make this happen and who will work to make this the excellent facility for attracting academic uses, industrial uses, and scientific uses from around this country and around the world. You know, I am really in awe of you because I'm really sort of a scientist wannabe, you know. I never made it, but I do encourage young people to stay in math science careers. But as I'm listening to all this, I couldn't help but think of a story, and I realized when Dr. Grunder was speaking that you do have quite a sense of humor, so I thought I would finish that, I think, with an appropriate story about a village in Ireland that did not have electricity, and a young woman was about to deliver her first child, so the doctor is called out from town to deliver this baby. Well, there's no light, it's in the middle of the night, so he needs someone to hold his light for him. So he asks the young father-to-be if he would hold the lantern. Well, the doctor delivers the baby and is about to wash his hands, and lo and behold, a second child begins to appear. Well, he delivers that baby, and to his stupefaction, a third child begins to appear. Well, he feels this little tapping on his shoulder, and it's this new father, and he says, if you don't mind my asking, he says, do you think it's the light that's attracting him? I know it's this advanced light source that's attracted all of you. Thank you very much. My congratulations to all of you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Wilson. And I guess that's why we're all here. Our final speaker this morning represents the successful partnership between LBL and the Department of Energy. The ALS could not have been finished on time and on budget without the close working relationship of the Department of Energy. Don Pearman is here wearing two different DOE hats. Many of you know him as the manager of the San Francisco Operations Office. You may not know that for the last 6 months he's been reporting to Secretary Hazel O'Leary as the acting associate deputy secretary for field management. Don is one of the best friends that LBL has, whether he's here or whether he's in Washington. And I am very pleased that he could join us today. Don?
Thank you very much, Chuck. I want to be your friend from here. I'm looking forward to coming home. What you've all accomplished here at the Lawrence Berkeley Laboratory really is significant and worthy of recognition. Good morning and congratulations to all of you. It's really my pleasure, it's an honor to be here to join you in celebrating this very momentous occasion. Today, you have lots of friends and admirers in Washington, D.C. And I say it like that, and I think it's very important to stress, because so often in Washington, D.C., I have seen where we spend a lot of time, we dwell on mistakes and issues and problems. So often we let the shortcomings of one overshadow the successes of many, but not today. Admiration and good wishes really are deserved by all, and I look forward to the days when we can spend as much time celebrating and evaluating successes and good news as we do in agonizing over news that's maybe not quite so good. Today really is very special, and it's unique. Most of you know that I don't understand the technical underpinnings associated with synchrotron radiation, but I do understand the need for the United States to maintain its scientific and technical leadership by continuing to invest in the national laboratories and continuing to support projects such as the Advanced Light Source. I also understand the need for more and more sophisticated devices so that we can continue to probe into the unknown and do the very best we can to discover the answers to questions associated with the behavior and other properties of materials. And I understand that the co-location of advanced high-technology research equipment and the leading-edge expertise of staff scientists, engineers, and visiting users provide the nation with an invaluable asset. The Advanced Light Source is a shining example of Secretary O'Leary's vision for accelerating the integration of technology partnerships into every one of the missions of the department. It's also fundamental to demonstrating that we have to reinforce that customer focus really is one of our core values. The fact that the Advanced Light Source works, the fact that it was completed on time and within budget really is a magnificent testament to the fact that total quality management really is well and alive at the Lawrence Berkeley Laboratory and in DOE. Earlier I mentioned the fact that what's been accomplished here is worthy of recognition. I want to add to that by saying that what has been accomplished here is also worthy of remembering and sharing with others. I think there are many lessons to be learned with the ALS regarding good planning and excellent execution and superb stakeholder involvement. I think it's up to us to engage ourselves in a lessons learned exercise on a very regular basis. We have to go out and we have to demonstrate to people throughout the community, in all aspects and parts of our community, the values of the national laboratories, the values of big science, the values of things like ALS, because there are many, many skeptics, and as has been pointed out, we have had problems, we're having problems in DOE, we're having problems with communicating the value of science in our nation, and so it's up to us to use things like the ALS to share the word, to spread the word, so that people can understand and celebrate, and we can spend the time on the good news and not agonize over, again, the news that's not quite so good. On behalf of Secretary O'Leary and Jim Decker, the Acting Director of Energy Research, I want to congratulate you, Chuck Shank, and all of the other people at the Lawrence Berkeley Laboratory, both present and past, who have worked so hard and so smart to make this happen. I also want to thank the DOE Office of Energy Research and the San Francisco Operations Office and the site office up here at Berkeley, and all of the contractor and user community people who assisted in the planning and execution efforts that have made ALS possible. And finally, I want to read a very brief personal note from the Secretary. She's on her way to London at this moment, but she has written, "Dear Dr. Shank, I want to express my appreciation to the Advanced Light Source team for a job well done. This facility will make an important contribution to providing the scientific and technical foundation for a more productive and competitive economy and for more efficient use of energy. We can all be proud to declare the Advanced Light Source open for business. Sincerely, Hazel R. O'Leary." And now, we're just about finished. I would like to ask Dr. Ron Thomas to join me so that we can make a presentation to the Lawrence Berkeley Laboratory.
When J. Marx talked about working with the Department of Energy, I was primarily a point of contact for the construction of this facility. Don Stevens said, Lou said, we started it, now you finish it. It's always a pleasure to work with Jay, and it is very much a pleasure for me to be able to award to Jay the Distinguished Associate Award on behalf of the Department of Energy for your outstanding contributions as project director for the Advanced Light Source during its design and construction. Your assembly and exceptional leadership of a superb team played a major role in the completion of this state-of-the-art research facility within cost and schedule. This project has been characterized as a textbook example of how to carry out a complex construction project. Jay, all the time that we worked together, I never had any worries about this project. Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Oh, I'm shocked. I wasn't prepared for this. You know, you've heard the words teamwork here and partnership, and you've heard it over and over again, and that's truly what has made this whole thing possible. And so in many ways, this award is really an award for the team that built the ALS, and you know, all of you are here. You've all played a part of this, and this is for you. It's for the laboratory. It's for the partnership we had with the users, with the scientific community, with the DOE. And this couldn't have happened without everybody pulling together and working hard for this. And so I'm really pleased with this, and I really want to accept this on behalf of everybody who was involved in this. And so, Moran, thank you again.
Now, as the project neared completion and the construction, Jay looked up and saw a cloud of dust coming down the way, and that was all the users coming down. And he kind of looked around and he said, wow, I think I'd rather work on mesons. Brian, here are the keys. It is, again, my pleasure to give to Brian Kincaid Distinguished Associate Award from the Department of Energy for your outstanding contributions as project director for the Advanced Light Source during construction and initial operation. Your exceptional leadership in the development and commissioning of the experimental facilities and technical components was extremely critical in meeting the design goals and smooth operation and rapid transition from construction to operations. Both of these are signed by Secretary Hazel O'Leary.
Well, thanks, Dad, for the keys. I'll try to keep the car out of the ditch and not hit a tree with it.
Thank you very much, Don and Iran. Really appreciate this. And congratulations to Jay, to Brian. This concludes our formal ceremony. We're now going to go over and have a ribbon cutting. And I hope that all of you enjoy the refreshments and do avail yourself of the self-guided tour of the ALS. This may be the last time you're going to be able to actually walk in on this thing like this, because we're going to have it up and running and humming very, very soon. So this is a historic opportunity. So do take a look at it. Thank you all very, very much. Grab the